Welcome to another BC Strategies Expert podcast. And I'm super thrilled to have two experts that are really deep on this exciting news story. NiCE acquiring Cognigy for just under $1 billion. And here we have two leaders, of NiCE, the leader in the contact center space, and, Cognigy that's got a lot of expertise in the AI empowered space. And so John and Blair, thanks for joining. Let me first go to John Arnold. Help me make sense of this, because this is big and exciting news.
Well, sure. It certainly captured all the headlines, I guess, on Monday. And I was just coming back from vacation. And we always we don't want to miss the news cycles, right? And sometimes when we go away, big things happen and you feel like, oh, no, we're going to be like the last ones to weigh in. But people are still weighing in on this topic because I think it's really, before we recorded, Kevin, you're right. This really makes AI real. Like now the dollars are starting to gravitate to the companies that are doing it and having success with it. And as you say, these are leaders in their respective spaces. And this is just upping the game, I think, just for on every level of what we're talking about here. So, if you pay attention to the magic quadrants of the world, that NiCE is kind of, upper right, and they've been upper right for a long time. And we weren't thinking about NiCE maybe 4 or 5 years ago as the leader. They were just one of the major players, and Genesis was always right up there, and other players too. But they seem to be, separating themselves a bit from the pack now. And, this is a bit of the legacy that Barak Ilham built as the CEO. Weiss kind of had that foundation on the marketing side. And yes, the management team is, changing over a bit with Scott Russell coming in. But, just like their financial performance from the last one Barak led to the first one that was under Scott's watch, they haven't missed a beat in terms of financial performance. And on this level of acquisitions and pushing even further ahead in the market, I don't think they've missed a beat as well. I mean, Scott comes from that background of big tech, SaaS company. They're playing at a different level now than, I wouldn't say everybody else, but I think they're showing the way for where this is all going. And we'll come back to that orchestration theme in a minute, because I think that's kind of the thread that runs through a lot of this stuff. But, Blair, we know these companies really well. And Kevin, it's like, okay, it's like someone's got to make a move at some point. And this space is just moving too fast for these kinds of companies to remain independent for too long. But now this just sets off so many ripples, because now all the other partners of Cognigy, of course, now have to make some moves. And will those companies' customers now become targets for NiCE? There's so many follows that come from this. So nothing stands still here, right, Blair?
No, and we kind of knew that with Scott Russell coming in. We knew that there were going to be acquisitions. NiCE is sitting on a pile of cash, and Scott made it clear that he wanted to expand into different areas. And of course, AI and now agentic AI is the darling of the industry. So it just made perfect sense. And in the article that we'll be posting on BC Strategies later today, basically I said, what took so long? I don't think this was a surprise for anybody. Cognigy's a leader in its area of, conversational AI, agentic or AI agents, and that whole area. So we knew it. So it makes perfect sense that the leader in CCaaS and I want to say CX, but that gets into a whole other area. But anyway, so NiCE is the leader in its market, and Cognigy as the leader in its market. It just made perfect sense for it to come together. So I don't think anyone was really surprised by it. Well, maybe some of Cognigy's partners like 8x8 and Genesis maybe took them by surprise a little, and they're probably not too happy about it, especially Genesis. But I think anyone who's been watching the market, we know that conversational AI and AI agents and agentic AI is definitely the way forward. So for NiCE to make this acquisition, again, makes perfect sense. And NiCE for a long time has been talking about what they call Frankenstacks, and all these different point solutions, and how it's really hard for customers to have all these different point solutions that they have to integrate together and get to work together. And instead, the idea is to have the single CX stack that has all the different capabilities, and it just makes integration easier. Well, you don't really have to integrate because it's already there on one platform. It makes deployment, implementation, all these things easier and easier to manage. And they've been talking about getting rid of these Frankenstacks for a while, and this is just the latest part. Adding this conversational and AI agents to that stack to make it easier for customers and to really bring everything together. So I thought it was a great move, and yeah, I'm happy for both companies.
So as your article title says, Blair, what took so long for us, digital natives, sorry, we're digital immigrants, I'm sorry. For us, when we say so long, we think in terms of probably years or decades. But in the world of AI, like weeks is a long time. So it's actually, I think even more about that title meaning something, Blair, because you have to move quickly in this market. It's like you can't wait a year to make a plan. It's too late by then. And now with taking them off the table, well, okay, so who else is out there, right? There's a lot of other conversational AI players, Core, Yellow. There's a lot of them, and of course the folks at Opus. Yeah. And the folks at Opus do a great job tracking this space. So I'd be looking for what they've got to. They're seeing for what's coming around the pipe, because there's going to have to be other moves made. The other companies, it's too late to build it yourself. I think Zoom is the exception. They built their own contact center in pretty quick time, but they are an innovation machine. I don't think anyone else could pull that off the way they did it. And it makes you wonder, if they had acquired Five9 a couple of years ago, where would they be in this space at this point? It's kind of moot at this point, but I worry about what's left out there for the Five9s and TalkDesks, the pure plays who only do, for the most part, CX stuff. What are their options going to be now? Now they're going up against a much bigger and stronger player, and it's going to be very difficult. They're going to have to find niche markets, I think, that they can defend, because, NiCE has got the game down pretty well now. And it's, again, kudos to the kind of vision that Barack was trying to execute there, because he's been pushing this path for a long time, and it's taken the rest of us to catch up, to kind of see it. But now it's starting to become, a real thing.
Yeah, what I
one
love
thing that's
is,
interesting. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, I just wanted to acknowledge, both John and Blair. What I love is you bring that historical basis, because you've been following these companies in depth for such a long time. So I think, to the audience, there's a number of comments. Maybe you need to Google some of the comments that Blair and John are making historically to figure out what that means. But, one of the things I did want to explore, Blair, is, I would say on the UC side of the house, where I spend more of my time, there was that whole kind of, best of breed versus kind of the suite concept. And it's interesting here that, I kind of always thought the bundle was winning. And certainly, like, if you look in the Microsoft stack, that was winning. And, they argued that I love the term Frankenstack that NiCE was talking about. But this makes it a lot easier for customers to deliver a complete solution. And it sounds like both of you see that this is going to cause further consolidation in the CCaaS CX space. Would that be a fair kind of assessment, Blair?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, all the other, CCaaS vendors and CX vendors are definitely going to be looking at, who are the conversational and agentic AI vendors out there, who they can, think about acquiring. Again, Genesys is definitely going to have to do that. Avaya and 8x8 are Cognigy partners, and I'm sure they're thinking about that and what to do. So NiCE and Cognigy did both say that Cognigy plans on continuing to support its partners and offer its platform as a standalone offering and combined with NiCE CX1 Empower. And of course, they're going to want people to really get the value of that synergy by getting it with CX1 Empower. But but both companies still are very adamant, saying, yes, Cognigy is still going to be offered as a standalone offering. So it can still work with partners, and customers can still get it as a standalone. But I really don't expect Genesis to be out there selling, a NiCE product. So we'll have to see what happens there. So absolutely, we're going to see a lot of acquisitions down the road. And the other thing is that this also opens up more opportunity for NiCE to start having discussions with Cognigy customers who might be on, a Genesis or,
Right.
a different platform. So certainly NiCE is going to take advantage of that and say, well, if you want to have the real integrated solution, maybe it's best to move over to our platform. So there's a lot of opportunity that this opens up.
Of course.
And-
Is there any downside or challenges that you see, John or Blair?
the
I was
downside.
thinking about that.
I mean, the answer could be no, but I just feel it's a good question to ask and just
Well, I
kind of
mean,
explore.
there's always, so the products already are integrated, because NiCE and Cognigy do partner together, so they do have an integration. But really embedding the Cognigy platform into the NiCE platform, I mean, that'll take a little work. It always does, and there is some overlap. Like at the NiCE Interactions event, they were talking about their AI agents and what they're doing with Empower AI agents. So there's probably some overlap that will have to be dealt with, and they're really not talking about roadmap until after the deal closes, so they can't really talk about much. But I think that's just par for the course, and I think with the engineering and the talent that they have in both companies, I don't see that being really a problem.
Okay, John, any downsides or challenges that you see?
Potential could be a cultural fit, but I really don't think there will be. I think I'm one of only two analysts who has been to both of Cognigy's recent events in Germany. And when you say, Kevin, you appreciate that we followed these companies a long time. Well, in Cognigy's world, yeah, a year plus is a long time.
Right.
But even in that amount of time, I've gotten to see up front, in person, what their culture is like, the way they think. And there could be some cultural issues about, well, maybe they have a very deliberate way of doing things, especially how they engineer their products, and the kind of value proposition they think is of value to their customers. And that might rub up against a bit about the way NiCE wants to go about doing things, particularly if NiCE, as we saw at Interactions, guys, their partnership with ServiceNow, Snowflake, these big software SaaS companies that are helping NiCE spread its wings more broadly across an organization, not just the contact center. There could be some issues there where they may be trying to set the agenda for how this is going to go, and that might be a problem. But I don't think it's a problem that can't be worked out. And then the only other potential downside, which would be disastrous, is if the AI stuff really starts to falter. These guys are probably the best at executing on it, but if there are broader issues industry-wide, security breaches, failures, too many hallucinations, all that stuff that turns people away, that'll be everybody's problem, not just this one. But
Right.
For the amount of money NiCE is spending, I can't see there being any regret. I wouldn't say they've overpaid, and the engineering team and all the R&D capabilities they're picking up is just going to really strengthen their bench. And to me, more importantly, take it away from their competitors. Whatever the competitors' moves are, they won't be anywhere near what Cognigy can bring to NiCE. And so I think that what makes this a capital W win for NiCE.
So I think one thing that could possibly be seen as a negative is the idea for companies that do want best of breed. So by having everything, NiCE and Cognigy together, I mean, it's still best of breed because they're both best of breed products.
Right.
But I guess, maybe if someone, and still NiCE and Cognigy say that they're going to be open. NiCE has an open platform. So if somebody does want to work with, a Yellow AI or, one of the other conversational AI platforms, they still can do that. So yeah, I don't really see too many downsides.
I mean, you guys go deep on this, and so I think that that's, and I know you've tried to look, and so I appreciate you pointing that out. For me, there's been lots of discussion. I cover AI more broadly, and this discussion around whether AI is overhyped. I mean, I see you have two very strong leadership teams. You have NiCE saying, hey, conversational AI, we're going to invest whatever, 995 million, so almost $1 billion. This clearly to me is saying a very smart and well-delivering company like NiCE is saying, no, AI is not overhyped if it is appropriately applied, right? So I think that this just brings, a proof point to say, hey, sure, you can misuse AI, you can throw money at it in an inappropriate way, but if you figure out the use case that works, and clearly I think NiCE plus, Cognigy for conversational AI, together it sounds like, based on these two great experts, Blair and John, it sounds like that is a great match that's been made.
So
Yeah.
I'll add. Go ahead, Blair.
Oh, I was going to say another thing is because Cognigy is a German company, as John mentioned, and they've got a strong footprint in Europe. So this is also going to help NiCE expand more into Europe, which is something it's been wanting to do. And also NiCE will help Cognigy expand more in North America. So there's also that benefit to look at as far as the acquisition.
Yeah. Now there's a flip side to this, which we're all showing our U.S. bias here, and I'm not going to get too political at the moment, but for Cognigy, which looks like one of the real pride and joys of the EU tech scene, you could make a case that they might be seen as selling out to the Americans just when they were cresting and they could charting their own course. And so that could cause some pushback with their EU customers, Lufthansa, I mean, big brands, right? But I don't think it's going to happen. I think that because they are all globally minded, but this is another part of the story is that what I've been reading so far is this is the biggest, most successful AI exit for a European company to date. And so it's great news for the EU market, but it also speaks to the fact that, again, NiCE is a very global company, and they look everywhere and anywhere for good ideas and partners. And it's different from, I think, the typical American mentality is if it's not invented here, we don't look at it. And the EU market this provides a little more validation that, hey, great tech companies are in the EU too. So I think that this might cause other companies to start looking more into that market to say, what other, up and coming companies doing cool things should we look at? So I think it's good news for the EU market that way. And I sure hope that this whole stupid tariff thing that we're getting into now with EU just caving in to 15% for everything just to appease somebody. I hope that doesn't bubble up into our sector, because frankly, I don't know how it's going to play out in the tech sector anymore. And I don't know if this could cause any ripples for moves like this. I don't think it will, but it's hard not to think about this every now and then. It just, this economy that we're in today, AI and tech is driving a lot of it, but it's not the only kind of factor in the equation here. So I hope that doesn't happen.
Well, I think that that's perhaps a great place to leave it, John. I mean, you said you weren't going to get very political, but that was a little bit of politics, and I appreciate that. Blair and John, I always appreciate the, depth and difference of kind of the BC strategies experts. We bring these multi-perspective opinions, and thank you for sharing your, opinions and expertise and analysis related to this very exciting NiCE and Cognigy acquisition. So with that, thank you, audience, for watching another BC Strategies podcast, and look for more of us soon. And also check out the article where Blair and John go a lot deeper on bcstrategies.com. Thank you.